On the other side of the channel, well, they've generally been run by the Kurds. But now it's emerged that the Afghans are starting to rival the Kurds in arranging the small boat crossing. So we now have an Afghan versus Kurd turf war taking place on the other side of the channel. Let's speak to border control expert, former UKIP leader, regular here on GB News, Henry Bolton. Henry, thank you very, very much. So there's currently an Afghan versus Kurdish turf war. The Turks get involved, it'd be a Turk war as well, wouldn't it? Turf war on the other side of the channel.
Indeed. Look, Patrick, you've got everybody here who's involved actually in the narcotics industry as well. You know, we talk about immigration and we talk about people smuggling, and we talk about human trafficking, but something else that comes across our borders, and certainly doesn't come from here in the UK, is heroin, the opiates, and cocaine. They're imported, and quite often the opiates are imported by Kurdish and Turkish gangs and by Afghans. It's most of the opiates in the world come from Afghanistan. It's natural that the Afghans would be involved. You know, the idea that they are not going to be involved in organised crime because they come from a war-torn area controlled by the Taliban is an absolute fantasy. So there's nothing surprising about this. The Afghans have been involved in organised crime for a long time.
No, indeed. And as well, this is obviously a situation that we will be worried could spill out onto the streets of Britain.
Well, indeed, Patrick, on that, I mean, these are groups that have got a history, a persistent, consistent history of using extreme violence to achieve their ends and to deal with competition. Yes, they'll build alliances amongst themselves. And indeed, the Albanians have made certain alliances, criminal alliances, with some of the Turkish gangs and some of the Kurdish gangs. But when it comes to it, if there is rivalry, then you can expect weaponry to be used. These are people that have easy access to firearms, and you can expect extreme violence to be used. So, you know, we've got criminality, you've got narcotics, you've got firearms, and you've got people smuggling. It's not a safe mix, Patrick.
No, I'm sorry, but that is Henry. Henry, let me just cut in there. Let me just cut in there, because that is third world problems just over there. Just over there. Yeah. And that's coming here.
It's projecting itself. You know, these very problems, I mean, I have long said one of the issues that needs to be addressed in terms of illegal immigration is the fact that we are we're sort of giving visas and allowing people to stay in the UK who we're not sort of educating them at all, but they are coming from populations that themselves are effectively at war with each other in other countries or other regions of the world.
Yeah.
So we have Pakistanis and Indians, you know, for example, you know, not making any judgment whatsoever about that conflict out there, but you've got a fundamental problem when you bring those communities to the UK. Of course, to an extent, it's going to spill out over here. And what measures are we taking to prevent that? None, or virtually none. So, you know, we have got, I mean, the National Crime Agency are entirely correct when they say that immigration is a national security threat. Now, they're not talking just about people. They're talking about the implications of all of that.
And the other aspect to this now is that other story. This ties in directly. RAF Wethersfield, at least a relatively secure base there, where now, if any of those people come over and say that they've been the victim of human trafficking or people smuggling or modern slavery, we're now not allowed to house them in there, so we have to put them in hotels. So it is not beyond the realms of possibility. In fact, I would argue it's extremely likely that you end up with people who are part of militia gangs in Calais, of Afghani or Kurdish descent or Turkish descent or whatever, who are coming here with the express intention of spilling that out onto the streets of Britain, who get the advice of a lawyer, and we open the doors for them and say, there you go, spend one night in this hotel room and then just disappear off into the streets of Britain.
Well, one of the reasons for having a visa system, Patrick, is to enable us to an extent, vet the people that we allow to come into this country. What we've got here are tens of thousands of people coming into the country without any documentation whatsoever and being allowed to roam the country free without any supervision, effectively, or without any vetting, many of them. So, but there are a whole number of serious concerns here. How come that government ministers, the government that we elect, our elected representatives, cannot affect policy, that they are undermined at every step by lawyers? What is going wrong here? I mean, we expect a government minister to be able to implement policy.
It's bonkers.
Why is that
bonkers.
not happening?
Well, it's not happening, but...
Utter bonkers.
It is. It is. We're going to have
to... Also a problem with planning.
Yeah.
It's also a problem with planning. As you quite rightly said in your introduction, Patrick, it would have been nice to know that these people couldn't go there before we sent them. Well,
well, it's in the Home Office's, yes, all right. It's in the Home Office's own guidance as well, isn't it? Which is a bit of a bit of an issue. Yeah, Henry, thank you very, very much. I wish I could have spoken to you for much longer instead of, having to move on. But there we go. Henry Bolton there, who is the former head of UKIP and, of course, a border control expert.